Nuclear launch detected.
The technocrats are the ones that stand behind the pseudoscience of the modern world, which has to do with climate change and now with the pandemic. These people are the ones that are in control right now, the scientists and engineers that are promoting technocracy. We see it in the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab.
The COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system for the need for the post-corona era. We have a choice to remain passive, which would lead to the amplification of many of the trends we see today: polarization, nationalism, racism, and ultimately increased social unrest and conflicts. But we have another choice. We can build a new social contract, particularly integrating the next generation. We can change our behavior to be in harmony with nature again. And we can make sure that the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution are best utilized to provide us with better lives. In short, we need a great reset.
And you think I'm just imagining this stuff? Crazy old Rowan with his conspiracy theories? Think again.
We have to prepare for a more angry world, and how to prepare? It means to take the necessary action. What we want to do in Davos this year in this respect is to push the reset button.
The World Economic Forum is this fancy group of billionaires who all get together every year in Davos, Switzerland, where they plan out the global economy for us peons.
It's the final day of the World Economic Forum in Davos.
So for those of you that don't know, Davos is a small town in Switzerland where the elite meet every single year to discuss global issues.
So the Great Reset is an initiative by the World Economic Forum to basically take advantage of the pandemic to reshape the entire world economy.
So you engineer a crisis, in this case a global health pandemic, a scenario we have seen wargamed in documents such as the 2010 Rockefeller Lockstep document and Event 201, the tabletop exercise and simulation of a global coronavirus pandemic. That was sponsored by the World Economic Forum, Johns Hopkins, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which took place last October. This crisis, which I believe to be engineered, produces a desired response, a controlled demolition of the global economy, wiping out the middle class, creating more dependency upon the government in the form of stimulus money and bailouts, which essentially equate to ownership. We experienced the authoritarian lockdowns, which was the conclusion of the Rockefeller Lockstep document on how to mitigate this crisis. Now, we are also witnessing massive civil unrest under the guise of seeking social justice and ending inequalities and systemic racism, as they call it, when in reality, these riots are nothing more than an organized destabilization operation.
They announced their Great Reset plan publicly back in June. They made a microsite for it.
But there are all sorts of topics covered, anything from something as simple as drones. You can see the drones here. Justice and law is another topic. Also AI and robotics.
They also made a portal page in their agenda section to support the reset entitled, "To Build Back Better, We Must Reinvent Capitalism. Here's how." Always love it when people say that, "here's how," right? Anyway, after they announced it, The Hill put out the story, "Introducing the Great Reset, World Leaders' Radical Plan to Transform the Economy." Time magazine made a whole digital section called The Great Reset. They also made a cover for their November 2nd issue depicting the world under scaffolding with the headline, "The Great Reset." Joe Biden actually adopted the Reset's tagline, "Build Back Better," as his campaign slogan. It was written clearly across any podium he stood at during the election. And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau referred to the plan in an address from the UN.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs.
17 tujuan untuk mengubah Indonesia yang lebih baik. Mari kita bangun Indonesia bersama-sama.
According to the World Economic Forum website, the Great Reset agenda would have three main components. The first would steer markets towards fairer outcomes, aka wealth redistribution through taxation and regulation. The second component of the Great Reset agenda would ensure that investments advance shared goals, such as equality and sustainability, aka there will be global standards regulated by task forces to control every aspect of your life through regulation and ensure compliance to the 2030 Agenda. The third and final priority of the Great Reset agenda is to harness the innovations of the Fourth Industrial Revolution to support the public good, especially by addressing health and social challenges, aka this is the transhumanist agenda to merge man with machine and enforce compliance with global governance initiatives laid out by the UN's 2030 Agenda.
However, it would be wise if countries would spend on rebuilding the economy and investing in new technologies to stimulate the Fourth Industrial Revolution, investing in a better future. Long-term investments are needed from companies too, and it requires leadership and guts, as there will be many temptations to focus on the short term. Our longer-term economic strategy should remain anchored in addressing the Sustainable Development Goals. Oh, that's Agenda 21.
I'm Rosa Corey, and I'm from the United States, California. And my topic, what I speak about, is one of the most vitally important issues of our age, and that is United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. And as I'll be talking about tomorrow, it is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And this is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's a United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. And so many of us around the world think that, sustainable development, it just sounds so great. Isn't it about recycling and creative reuse and creating energy and food resources for everyone? And the answer is no, it really is not. It's about moving populations into city centers, concentrated city centers, and clearing them out of the rural areas.
Now, the Great Reset is not a new idea that they just made up over the weekend, okay? This is a long-standing global governance agenda which ties into the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which seeks to regulate, control, and redefine all aspects of life as we know it. And in June of last year, the United Nations and the World Economic Forum formed a strategic partnership to accelerate the implementation of the UN 2030 Agenda.
Because from looking at the partnership list and the investor list, it does tend to look as though this is the 0.1% of the world's elite who is in attendance at Davos. So who pays for Davos? Well, according to the website, this is the world's most significant business entities who foot the bill. The forum offers different levels of membership and partnership. Now look at these fees. The membership fees range from 60,000 to 600,000. So let's just convert this in Swiss francs. That's 65,500 US dollars to 657,500 US dollars. So I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound as though that would just be the average person in attendance. But let's look at the partnership list then here. We have everyone from MasterCard to Microsoft. These are some big companies that you will know straight away. We also have in attendance some more controversial organizations such as the Soros Fund Management. So this is George Soros's company. BP, British Petroleum, is another one. We also have Bayer in attendance. So BP is an energy company. Bayer, of course, International Chemicals, they purchase Monsanto. So the next question is, who are the people involved in this initiative? So let's take a look at a few most famous, well-known ones now then.
Now the root cause is...
Not so. Not
is now cheap.
We don't need a low carbon...
Getting here alive. Realign our own economy.
Well, the economic adjustment...
Well, I want you to know...
But there's only one Davos.
A number of situations that...
GMOs are done...
I want to focus on the third aspect of the Great Reset, the implementation of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which Schwab has also written a book about, and is a long-standing transhumanist agenda which seeks to merge man with machine and artificial intelligence, something that Elon Musk is already working on with his Neuralink project.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
Our bodies will be so high-tech, we won't be able to really distinguish between what's natural and what's artificial.
Inside our own heads is the most complex arrangement of matter in the known universe.
You might ask yourself, can we get to be superhumans?
The original Industrial Revolution was driven by the discovery that you could use steam engines to do all kinds of interesting things.
But that was followed by additional revolutions for electricity and computers and communications technology. We're now in the early stages of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is bringing together digital, physical, and biological systems.
One of the features of this Fourth Industrial Revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
They tweeted, "You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. This is how our world could change by 2030.
Now, they were talking about this new economic model not being based on hard work or being a business owner or creating wealth and success. They were talking about a new global economic order that will be fairer, they say, and essentially redistribute wealth, your wealth, as they see fit to lower the standards where you are in your countries or in some countries and raise them in others.
When they talk about wealth distribution, and that's frequently you hear that, there is no wealth to distribute. This is the first big lie that just stands out from an economic point of view. There is no wealth to share. Does anybody think that the people, the global elite running this whole thing, who are rich beyond their wildest imagination, are going to give up one nickel of their wealth to help you or me or anybody else in society, much less the poor? No way. They want to have all of the resources. So when they trick people into thinking, well, we're going to redistribute the wealth here, no, they're not. They're going to redistribute it towards themselves. You just don't understand what the context of what they're talking about. It's about getting it redistributed from you to them. And they're doing a pretty darn good job globally. During this pandemic, the whole year, at least in America, the companies that have gotten filthy, stinking rich are the Amazons of the world, the Teslas of the world, the Googles of the world, the Facebooks of the world. These companies are just raking in money while everybody else is falling apart. Businesses are falling left and right in America. Restaurants going out of business, bars going out of business, the small companies going out of business, just decimated our economy.
This great reset is as serious and as dangerous a threat to our prosperity, to your prosperity and your freedom, as we have faced in decades. With these powerful bodies, including the World Economic Forum, the United Nations.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. As you rightly say, it is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate and rebalance our world.
The International Monetary Fund.
History would look at this crisis as the great opportunity for reset.
And even Prince Charles boasting.
Therefore, we have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path.
Yes, boasting that within a few short years, yes, their words, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Remember, this is not me saying this, this is them. They are even running ads for the Great Reset.
So I think personally, and again, this is just my own speculation, I think the central banks are meeting and they are probably in development right now to create these digital currencies in order to make a switchover.
We can do better than build back the pre-pandemic world. We can build forward to a world that is more resilient, sustainable, and inclusive. We must seize this new Bretton Woods moment. How?
But the current head of the IMF just recently came out with a paper talking about the new Bretton Woods when they changed the system again.
So what is this change of the system, do you think? What does it look like? What do you think they have in mind if they're already openly talking about it? And then you've got Klaus Schwab doing his Great Reset. You said that head of the IMF talking about it now, Justin Trudeau on the UN thing. What do you think it looks like and how far away from it do you think we are?
Well, number one, there is not one little teeny-weeny doubt in my mind that we have already begun to walk through it.
Yeah.
This world does not look the same as it did, 10 months ago.
Right.
Well, maybe 10 months ago. Right? But it is a completely different world that we're living in. So I got news for you. We're already inside of the reset.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm with you.
Okay. Second of all, what it looks like to me is a hyperinflationary depression. That's what it looks like to me. And that's why my personal mantra and what I've been working on, you can't see around you, but food becomes the single biggest issue for most people. And right now, there are more people dying of starvation than there are of the coronavirus.
Yes.
So we're already seeing, we're already seeing that issue come up. So I think it's a hyperinflationary depression. And I think that it is critically important that everybody get prepared, number one, to sustain your current standard of living. Number two, to protect the wealth that you have managed to accumulate. And number three, if you can, get yourself into the position that the guys at the top that understand this themselves have put themselves in the position to take advantage of it. Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? And how do you sustain your standard of living? Food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Regardless of what's happening in the economy, these are the things that we all need to have a reasonable standard of living. So, people really need to think deeply about that.
Is accumulating the resources of the world into the hands of a few. That would be the technocratic elites that want to run the entire economic system. That economic system depends upon the resources in the world, and it depends, of course, on energy.
We are told the lockdowns are ordered because of a virus that poses no great danger to a very large percentage of the American public. Yet, instead of adopting a different approach, politicians are doubling down on the failed policies of masks and lockdowns. Meanwhile, big tech companies, which are already often acting as partners of government, silence anyone who questions the official line regarding the threat of coronavirus or the effectiveness of lockdowns, masks, and vaccines. The disastrous response to COVID is just the latest example of how those who give up liberty for safety or health will end up unfree, unsafe, unhealthy. Instead of a great reset of authoritarianism, we need a great rebirth of liberty.
Global governance is at our doorstep. It's being rolled out under the justification of this COVID-1984 crisis. And at the end of the day, we the people do not have a say in our future, according to them. We don't even get a vote, according to them. These technocrats are deciding the future of humanity for us right now. And guess what? The future of humanity isn't human at all.
Then it is claiming that they can magically disappear, literally at the push of a button. And just like that, everything in the world is made right and pure again. The Great Reset. What could be simpler?
We have to live up to the expectations which we have created, and we will do so.
Whereby the world will be run not by elected people, but by technocrats, by bureaucrats, by medical technocrats like Fauci and these characters in Britain like Vallance and Whitty and Silicon Valley technocrats and scientists and engineers. Now, takes a breath. Who's driving the show now?
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.